Hey, come here. Give me a hug. Ah! Wake up! In the old video, I repeated what was taught to me from YouTubers about how institutional traders and banks aren't looking at the smaller time frames. Well, that's just a straight up dumb thing to say. The white drawing represents 15 minutes of price action, and the green candle is what it would look like. Obviously, that shows a crazy imbalance where demand exceeded supply and it shot up. But guess what? Would this candle represent an exit from a demand zone? No, of course not. Yet this price action would result in the exact same candle. I copied and pasted it. Not using shorter time frames because that's not what institutional traders do is dumb. When I was in high school playing varsity soccer, my coach said to me, "Isaac, I need you to step up and be a leader." I said to him, "Coach, without followers, there would be no leaders." Then he benched me and I barely got playing time. We are very bad at predicting how an event will make us feel. Maybe you're dreading something and then it actually turns out to be fine. This is no different in trading. Once you have entered, your body goes through a physiological response that is equal to narrowly avoiding a car crash, fighting a bear, jumping out of a plane, or, for me, seeing someone I don't want to talk to, which is almost everyone. Here, you see that as the amount of fresh lemons imported to the US from Mexico increased, the US highway fatality rate decreased. Clearly, the importation of fresh lemons has turned people into safer drivers. There are apparently some mystical beings watching to make sure people knock on wood after they say something. Running an organization that watches for people who make claims and then don't knock on wood after would almost be as difficult as being Santa or the Easter Bunny. We don't like being out of control of a situation, so we do something that makes us feel like we have an impact. I promise that your favorite sports team isn't waiting for you to wear your lucky socks to start performing better. We think all Prius drivers are slow because we ignore the instances where our beliefs are disproven. We think airplanes are more dangerous than cars because we can more easily recall instances of airplane crashes. Our minds work in efficient ways that accidentally cause some incorrect beliefs. We make shortcuts, called heuristics, in order to free up cognitive ability for other tasks. These usually help us, but in trading, they often do not. The best instances of thinking that patterns are happening when they aren't are demonstrated with indicators. People will look at the same chart with the same indicator, and there will be equal amounts of reasoning to go short or to go long. If your indicator worked the way you think it does, someone would write 2 lines of code and become consistently profitable. But they don't, because that would just result in losing all their money. And why have a computer lose all your money when you could just do it? Here's some bad news. Illusory happens more in unfamiliar areas due to our lack of experience with them. This makes sense, because our brain is always trying to figure everything out to make shortcuts in order to clear up mental capacity. The good news is that these illusory correlations go down as we become more informed about the unfamiliar. Still, it helps to be aware of them during the tough journey to trading enlightenment. But don't take it from me. If these patterns and connections existed at the frequency that our mind makes it seem like they do, then everyone would watch a 10-minute tutorial on writing a trading algorithm, throw some stuff together, plug it into their broker, and become millionaires. Rarely are there instances where something always or never does something. Sure, you might have the same trading opportunities, but it's literally trading times 2. The same things are there, but they're going twice as far now. That means twice as much reward, but it also means twice as much risk, twice as many emotions, maybe, sort of, I don't know. Certainly scarier. But I like to look at the ATR to see if maybe I should just step back for a sec and let things chill out. Now obviously you wouldn't trade pre-market the same way you would trade during normal hours. Looking down below, you can see that most of these candles are ranging from 1 to 4.25 points. Clearly, your stop losses and take profits would probably be smaller, since the chances of capturing a large move are unlikely. I knew that, yet somehow I wasn't being dynamic with my trading style when volatility was different during the day. The charts always stretch out or become compact to automatically fit on the screen, so we don't always visually see when things are moving up and down more. We don't always notice that the horizontal price bars are moving in much higher or lower increments. Visually, it looks the same. Take a look at this. Remember, this is a 30-second chart and they're moving from 5 points to 14 points each. Look at the candles. This chart looks the same, except these are only moving 2.5 to 7 points each. Make sure your plans are changing too. When price action is half as much as it usually is, or twice or even 3 times as much, are you actually adapting to this and monitoring for it? Are you actually reducing or increasing the size of your stop loss and take profit levels?
First, let's look at the least credible branch of technical analysis. These kinds of chart pattern indicators. You've all seen them. You've all heard people on YouTube trying to tell you they can teach you how to use them to get rich. Also, technical analysis is really just a loose term that means finding patterns in data. The Medallion Fund, arguably one of the greatest hedge funds of all time, has generated a 66% average return over the past few decades purely from looking at patterns in data.
In regards to the Medallion Fund, of the 200 employees, a third have PhDs not in finance but in fields like computer science, physics, mathematics, and statistics. Renaissance has been called the best physics and mathematics department in the world. So, referring to this fund to justify the use of an ascending triangle is like comparing a spoon to an airplane. Both are tools that deliver something. One delivers food and one delivers people and cargo. Me drawing polygons on a price chart is not the same as a team of 200 people working together to find correlations and data from all over the world using the scientific method and advanced mathematics. Both use patterns, but one of them is a genius and the other one is you. Of course there is some validity to technical analysis, but there's a lot of information that leads beginners astray. This information is always pushed by people selling courses and the ones who share those images of very basic charts and shapes. If an expert trader and I saw a common pattern on a chart, I might lose money on the trade and they might make money. This is because it's not the shape, it's the difference in our experience and our understanding of price action. Just be aware that the human brain is constantly searching for patterns even when they don't exist. We're actually incapable of seeing complex patterns. Mark Rober's baseball signal video is a good example of this. He got an AI to figure out which signals meant what, which seemed obvious after the fact, but no person could guess them before. You will be successful not because of basic patterns, but because of your experience and hard work. I think long-time traders don't give themselves the credit they deserve. I'm certainly not anti-technical analysis, but I wanted people to understand how the mind works. By showing them how we see patterns that don't exist, I wanted them to understand that they shouldn't waste their time with technical analysis pattern charts and other bogus. Technical analysis is great because it makes us look at how price moves, and the more time we spend with price action, the more it becomes a type of language that we speak. Indicators are only tools that help to tell a story that is already there. I think, if we can be honest with ourselves, that many of us have fallen into the loop of learning about a new indicator, implementing it into our trading, discovering that it doesn't work, searching for the next indicator, and then repeating this over and over. The problem is not that you are using the indicator wrong, and the solution is not to find a different one. The problem is that this is what you click on, the same video over and over. Notice how there are red bars on a few of those. That's right. I fell for the same crap as a beginner as well. And then you go to the secret mindset and watch what you think is helpful, but it's really just a perfected formula with titles so similar that it seems like an AI made them. You try it out yourself, find it doesn't work, and click on the next video to try out a different strategy, over and over. It's just a visual representation of data in a meaningless and random point in time. It's really easy to look back on a chart and see what you should have done. With enough data, you will always be able to find seemingly repeating patterns that are happening by pure chance. And what a surprise. The trading concept that simplifies the market the most happens to be the most popular side of trading YouTube. What a coincidence. Let's watch the videos that the majority of people believe in while ignoring the fact that the majority of traders fail. Traders are vulnerable because we all want to learn that one thing that will make us a lot of money. We are desperate, and these big channels are like an addicting drug that you just keep coming back to get some more. Ultimately, this drug leaves us unfulfilled, so we click on the next blank was hard until I discovered this indicator or this trading idea or whatever. When we do anything that's considered rewarding, like eating food, taking drugs, or making a good trade, our brain's reward system activates. And guess what? It also happens when the reward is uncertain. Sounds a lot like trading to me. When someone who is struggling with an addiction goes to take that drug, the area of their brain that is lighting up is the exact same area that lights up when we take a trade. Now here's the worst part. For many people, not all, but many, when we lose on a trade, our brain still releases dopamine. Not as much as winning, but still, that's messed up. The result of this is that it gives us the urge to keep trading. Our brain chemistry is our enemy when we lose, and this is part of why revenge trading is such a problem for some people. Your brain is encouraging you to revenge trade, but through time and exposure, we can cognitively overcome that urge. Did you know that in electronic gambling machines, they take advantage of this and trick your brain into using them more? They set up games so that when you lose, it looks like you're gonna win, and then it barely switches to something incorrect, which results in a loss. This tricks your brain into responding as if you won, which makes you want to play more. When something barely misses your take profit and then you get stopped out, on a biological level, your brain is going to be your worst enemy. These near miss, almost wins are used everywhere at casinos, and it's part of how they manipulate people into continuing to gamble.
Ominous sound effect.
The neutral sites like Investopedia didn't have anything of value beyond a definition. We already know what stop hunting is. Its definition is its name. I'm gonna go duck hunting. What's duck hunting? Okay, stop it. I'm gonna go duck hunting. What's duck hunting? It's duck hunting. Oh, trading guide channels would pay good money for this stuff. Stop using common trading knowledge to decide the location of your stop losses. If it seems obvious, Todd and the boys might be waiting like vultures to get a slice of that sweet liquidity. If you see the world's most obvious supply zone on the hourly chart, guess what? Floor traders also see that, and they actually make money. Sorry. It's not that they care about you as an individual trader, but if you're behaving the same way that 2,000 other traders are, suddenly, collectively, you have become important. Logically, it would just be a good trade to push price up a tiny little bit to grab a bunch of orders without getting a ton of slippage, because there's actually enough liquidity up there to sustain the size of an order. God, this video is beautiful. So you might see what looks like stop hunting at the low or high of day, in supply and demand zones, and in swing lows and highs, because enough of us little baby retail traders are acting the same. They're probably waiting for the secret mindset to reveal the next groundbreaking strategy just so they can start figuring out the next place some stop losses are going to be put. When a baby does something you don't want it to do, you punch it in the face. My favorite line I look at while in a trade says, if you can't follow your rules, you have a gambling problem and should just quit. Figure out what it is that you want to stop doing and find a punishment that actually means something to you. This has to be individualized so that it actually motivates you. I'll share mine. No oxygen for 2 days, no ice cream for a week, and bedtime at 9. If those aren't punishments that will motivate me to not do something stupid, then I don't know what will. I mean, the first one will literally kill me. I actually enjoy living now. Okay, I'm pretty sure you can figure out the rest of this. Make some good rewards to increase behavior you want, like succeeding at following your risk management rules, not moving a stop loss, not averaging down, or whatever. I don't know. I got my own rules that I follow that are specific to my own problems, and you need to figure out yours. If you haven't liked the recent videos, I'm sorry. Just kidding, no I'm not. There's a lot of misconceptions about intelligence and what it even is. People try to reduce it to a single thing, but that's just not how it works. And, by the way, if you clicked on this because you are having doubts about your ability to succeed, nonsense. The question is, do you have the patience and the drive to not give up? Our capacity to learn information doesn't matter if we don't have the motivation to carry on when we want to give up. We only really care about self-management and self-awareness. Can you control impulsive feelings and behaviors? When a trade goes poorly, are you aware of how these feelings might affect your judgment? Do you have the awareness to step away from the computer until you're in the right state of mind? This is about recognizing and being in tune with the interactions of your emotions on your thoughts and behaviors. All three of these affect each other, and being aware of their relationship is part of emotional intelligence. Do you understand your strengths and weaknesses? Emotional intelligence is cool because even if you aren't naturally like this, there are many solutions. Check in with yourself every 5 minutes or so to think about how you're feeling. This can be as easy as setting a reminder on your phone. Self-awareness can be a learned skill, unlike some of the other measures of intelligence where you either have it or you don't. Intelligence can also involve successful adaptation to life. This is more accurately described as the ability to effectively deal with the environment and the ability to deal with its challenges. Learning to trade is nothing but adaptation. We mess up, big deal. What will we do next time? How will we change our behaviors to be more adaptive? Maybe we need to start new habits and to get rid of old ones. Maybe we need to abandon old ways of thinking and to open our minds to different possibilities. Here's what actually matters. Anyone can be successful, and all that matters is not giving up, staying disciplined, and becoming comfortable with yourself. Because trading is lonely. A person who thinks they're being helpful says to Kevin, "Hey, the reason you're so bad is because of your risk-reward ratio. If you change that, you barely ever have to be right in order to become profitable." So, Kevin decided to go with this and try it out, except that he ran into a small problem. Somehow, he became even worse at trading. In an environment where a trader lacks an edge, which is just some characteristic that makes their trading not truly random, changing the risk-reward ratios does absolutely nothing. Let me repeat that for the people who are going to leave comments that make me angry because they completely missed the point. When a trader has no edge, changing the risk-reward ratio accomplishes nothing. In this specific environment, the win rate required to make a risk-reward ratio break even now becomes an indication of the likelihood that the trade will work, because, hypothetically, after a big enough sample size, a trader who doesn't have an edge should come close to break even. A trader who is accomplishing nothing while risking 3 points for 3 points is only going to continue accomplishing nothing if they change it to risking 2 points for 4 points. Except, instead of needing a win rate of 50% to be break even, now they need a win rate of 33%. This trader might think to themselves, perfect. I'm absolutely garbage at trading, so needing to be right less often is great. Now it doesn't matter that I'm wrong so often. But instead, what happens? Does this trader start improving? No, of course not. What happens is that they're wrong even more often than they were before. The win rate required to make a trader break even went from 50% to 33%. But instead of this helping them, it just made them wrong more often. When you're a trader who doesn't truly have an edge, changing the risk-reward ratios is not some magical shortcut to becoming better at trading. I've never seen people talk about using the break-even win rate on a risk-reward ratio as an indication of the likelihood of the trade working. That doesn't mean nobody's done it before, but it's something I've been thinking about lately. But what actually is trading experience in regards to explicit and implicit memory? It is the internalization of non-communicable information that they use in order to drive their decisions, while at the same time falsely believing that it is the relatively simple system they are using that is causing success. Okay, so these expert traders using a system that a kindergartner could follow are succeeding not because of the system, but because of intuition that they can't put into words. They have learned the markets subconsciously and have learned price action as a language that cannot be spoken to anyone else. Of course, there are systems that work without needing thousands of hours of experience to develop that implicit memory. If the system you are working on actually worked by itself, then you're wasting your time and resources by not just coding it. If it was the system alone, and not the combination of the system with intuition, or even just intuition on its own and absolutely nothing to do with the system, then you would just code it. If your trading was profitable because of a system you have where x equals 2, if y equals blah, if x is doing blah, and if volume is doing blah blah, then you would code it. The 5-year veterans are attributing their success to an equation you could learn in first grade instead of to the true reason, which is their hard work, dedication, years in the market, and thousands of hours of experience internalizing on a non-communicable level the patterns and movements of price action. Those successful traders with 5 years of experience claiming that technical analysis is what made them successful? Maybe. Maybe it helped them understand from a new perspective what is already on display with all those candles or whatever it is you use to look at how price moves. Support and resistance don't show anything you weren't already looking at. Price action was already there. And lines and boxes on the chart don't change anything beyond telling you a story of what happened from a new perspective. Experience is the separator not because the veterans are better at drawing a line from the top to another top and then to another top. It's because they're making intuitive decisions that can't be quantified into an algorithm. Think of trading as like learning to play the piano. Watching videos does nothing except either inspire you to be better, motivate you, or make you feel like giving up. At best, it might spark an idea. People spend thousands of hours to get good at it, and you'll never watch a video or hear a piece of advice that will suddenly make you be able to play for release without putting in a ton of work. The only way to master playing the piano is through time, dedication, repetition, and by just playing the piano. A video about using a certain technique with your hand position might help a little, but watching videos about how to play the piano have zero application to your own ability to play. Discretionary traders are trading on intuition, which is only gained through experience and so much time that price action has become an internalized language. I peered into the soul of my sweet dog's gloomy eyes as they slowly shut for the last time, a small tear trickling down my scrunched up face as I said, "Good boy," for the last time. But then I was actually fine, didn't even feel bad. See you later, bingo. We're terrible at predicting how we will be feeling once a trade starts. And this inability is why we make stupid decisions, like moving the stop loss or averaging down on a losing position. Nobody expects themselves to do something dumb like that, and that's because of something called the empathy gap. Ah yes, relating to the viscera. Now it makes complete sense. Thank you, Google, for that helpful definition. It's easy to say that you'll get out when the trade goes against you, but it's not easy to actually do it in the moment. There are no emotions or fight or flight type beats going on in your body when you're just planning the trade. If you have a spot where you're going to get out in your head, then why not just make the computer do it? That way, as long as you obey your rule to never move your stop loss further away, you can never get caught in a situation where you're just hoping for price to come back. Using bracket orders, where a stop loss and take profit order are submitted at the same time you enter a trade, which you can see in the picture, eliminates the problem that the empathy gap and affective forecasting cause. Understanding how different my mental state would be once the trade had started would have saved me a few $1,000s. Everything seems so easy right now because we are calm. Once the trade starts, logic goes out the window and we start making very bad decisions because we're now in a different mental state. So how do we stop this? Well, for one, automate everything you can. Remove the opportunity for you to do something stupid. You can't die from eating scorpions if you never eat scorpions. You know what I mean? Kinda? Yeah. Become aware of your inability to properly predict how you'll feel in future events. You ever look down at your hands and you're like, what the heck is that even? You literally just vanished for several minutes into the deep dark abyss of your own mind without even being aware that you were doing it, and then bam! You just come back all of a sudden, and now you're like, how did I manage to drive 4 miles without even looking or being aware? And then some guy with a floating circle above their head is like, dude, you've been dead for 17 years, can you stop doing this? Like, why are you buying the smallest containers of things that you use every day and have to go to the store 5 times a month to restock when you have the house space to just buy something in bulk 3 times a year and spend half as much money? Barbara, you're making the same mistakes over and over and failing to identify that. Wake up. You don't monitor your own thoughts and the way you feel, leading to behavior based on emotions and impulses. Wake up. You have fallen asleep. Wake up. That was a fun little drill I like to call waking up. This website will make a beep sound once a minute for the next hour, but you can customize it to do all types of intervals. I have it set to make a beep every 3 seconds. When the beep happens, I want you to analyze yourself from an outside-inside perspective. How do you feel physically? What are you thinking about? Are you calm? Are you in the right state of mind to be trading? Whatever, you get the point. Switch up the questions to address your own specific needs. The point is that it brings you out of your robot autopilot mode and makes you become aware of your own awareness. This is a form of mindfulness. Identify when you're about to do something stupid and then don't do something stupid. Not everybody needs to do this, but it should help a lot of you. Awareness doesn't mean Jesus Christ. Anyways, as you all know, I only make YouTube videos for the money, and that's the only reason. So get your free stocks, which also gives me free stocks, by clicking on the Webull link below.
Price action is the result of algorithms and institutional traders that are specifically trained to take your stupid little retail money. Let us discuss the secret mindset.
Sorry, but we're talking plutonium-239. Which, as we already know, is for nuclear weapons. Right here we have a fairly obvious skull and shoulder bone pattern paired with a pelvic foot continuation pattern. Bones. You've seen them. I've seen them. We all have them, except jellyfish. If you're wondering how to know which size to stretch the bones and nukes out to, you just don't have enough experience yet, okay? I'm like super good at stuff. So after you have 6 years of experience trading, you can start asking questions instead of just blindly accepting everything I say. This video was not satire. This is a real trading strategy.
Every problem has a solution, except for my shoulder dislocating when I raised my arm. Each individual trade isn't as important as the result of 10 trades. When we put too much emphasis on the importance of each trade, it just makes trading that much more nerve-wracking. Might seem counterintuitive to learning trading, but unless you have access to the people who are actually moving the market, aka not you with your tiny little baby order, I accept that I don't know what will happen next. I can only make a bet that it will go to my take profit before it goes to my stop loss. That's all trading is. All trades exist independently of all other trades. Profit is just a byproduct of acquiring trading skills. Losing implies a lack of skill, which is something we work on and gain every day. This is a good one to help reorient your focus onto variables that you can control. I can't control if I lose or win on a trade, but I can control the effort I put into learning. Once again, remember that you need to create rules that address you and are specific to your problems. There's no secret sauce here to being disciplined. Just do it. Hire a motivational coach to yell at you and slap you when you break your rules. I don't know. Every problem in trading has a solution. The question is just whether or not we want to put in the effort to solve them. There's no one here to hold your hand. Now let's take a look at this chart I borrowed from Trader Tom, who I like. But don't tell him I said that. It's a secret crush.
Neuroticism is a measurement of our emotional stability. People who score high experience a lot of stress, may have extreme reactions to events, and experience more negative emotions. High neuroticism makes you more susceptible to trading anxiety, which, if not defeated, can be the nail in the coffin to a career in trading. It is extra important for you to find techniques that help you remain calm. This could be doing breathing techniques, getting up extra early so you can feel mentally prepared, meditation, or literally anything that you think relaxes you. High neuroticism includes dramatic shifts in mood, and it also means that you are less likely to bounce back after stressful events. This is why it is imperative that you find anxiety-calming strategies to help you.
When we have two conflicting beliefs, or a behavior doesn't match a belief, we experience cognitive dissonance, which is just your brain at war with itself. Psychologists love making sure that only other psychologists know what they're talking about, so they use big words and overcomplicate everything. I, however, didn't get into psychology to try and figure out what's wrong with myself. You can't smoke a cigarette and believe that smoking is bad for you without experiencing inner conflict, so something has to change. You could change your belief, I'm going to die anyways, or you change your behavior by quitting. Cognitive dissonance is something we try to avoid because it's uncomfortable, so we change our thoughts or our behaviors to make peace. I messed up very badly when I first started, and it never would have happened if I had just admitted I was wrong. Somehow I just kept being right an insane amount of times by basically just completely guessing. I was like, wow, this is so easy. But the day inevitably came when I bought a put and Facebook didn't go down. So I bought another put, then another put. I ended up with like $20,000 worth of puts, and I held them into the weekend. I was actually snowshoeing with my fiance and secretly pulling out Robinhood every 10 minutes to see if I was still down. It was a Thursday or Friday, and I held it through the weekend instead of taking a pretty small loss of like $400. On Monday, I called it quits and realized a loss of $2,400. It was humiliating, humbling, and an expensive trading lesson, but something I'll never do again. Admitting when you're wrong is hard. When a position goes against us, it causes cognitive dissonance because we have a situation where the screen is telling us that we messed up, but we believe we are smart. Messing up makes us feel dumb, and those two things can't coexist. We don't like to question ourselves because it threatens the beliefs that make us who we are. If we mess up, does that imply we are dumb? No, but it's easier to double down on why we did something instead of exiting and thinking about why we should not have done it. Cognitive dissonance happens during trading because events happen that don't agree with our beliefs about ourselves. If I think of myself as the person who believes that birds are government drones, and I discover that birds are actually real animals, then who even am I anymore? If we trade with an ego and attach a little part of ourselves to each transaction, then the result of these trades affects who we are. And we will be struggling to make the right moves during the trade because we have attached more weight to it than it deserves. We can't let the results of an ongoing trade affect our sense of self, because that will have an extremely dangerous impact on our ability to manage risk.
Self-serving bias is the tendency to perceive oneself favorably. It is characterized by people's tendency to attribute positive events to their own character, but attribute negative events to external factors. Take responsibility for your failures as equally as you take credit for your successes. It's easier to blame the teacher than it is to find fault within ourselves.
Well, people, after 778,000 views as of November 5th, 2022, I have made $10,162 on this video and got an RPM of $13.09. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. When I take out the time where I wasn't monetized and therefore not making any money, this video has averaged an RPM of $14 for every 1,000 views with pre, post, and mid-roll advertisements. And now I'm going to blow your mind even more. Some months, Webull gives a $500 bonus if I get 10 people to sign up. Wait, I'm not done yet. I make the least out of the Webull affiliate link people because I've only ever gotten 7 people to sign up and deposit money. Step up your game, people. You're making me look bad. We only get that referral when you actually add a bank account and deposit just a single penny or more. They also give you a huge bonus for just shouting them out on a video over 10,000 views. Many of the bigger channels are making over $100 per sign up they get, and that's not even where the money ends. I've turned down so many sponsorship deals, including ones with prop firms where there's some big money to grab as a YouTuber. Now that I have revealed the information about how much trading YouTubers make, you can use what I've said to do your own very accurate estimations for any trading channel you watch, as long as it's trading, finance, or investing related. Just use the RPMs I used for the videos and keep in mind that I went very low with them. At 14.9 million views, this video with proper ad placements should have made them a nice $447,000. Can we just think about that for a second? Often I see channels like Rainer, Teo, and Warrior Trading being defended solely because they have tons of free content. Yeah, I guess you don't have to pay to watch it, but how else would you market a course if you didn't make trading videos for people to find you? You've been fooled by great marketing and trusting that they have your best interests in mind instead of how much money can be made off of you. In total, I've made $15,000 off of YouTube, with $10,000 coming from this supply and demand video. I could make so much money here on YouTube, but the thing that's holding me back is that I'm not a piece of shit taking advantage of beginner traders. I make videos that actually try to teach you something about your behavior and thought patterns, so of course they don't get as many views. I know I could make a title called The Indicator That Changed My Life and just make another moving average tutorial full of lies and deceit for easy money like The Secret Mindset, but I don't. I know I could sell a supply and demand course like Carmen Rosado and just make the same video over and over, but I plan to make money through actually trading. If you support my mission, want extra content from this channel as well as weekly live trading videos that don't go on my second channel, I'd really appreciate you becoming a patron. Thank you.
Thinking about things we should or must do can bring on feelings of guilt, anxiety, and just general discomfort. For me, I often feel guilty about doing non-trading related things. Sometimes I'm like, I should be sim trading historical data right now. But since I'm epic rational guy, I'm like, hey, you idiot, you're like 4 gin and tonics deep right now and on your 7th Pong game win in a row. Get your head in the game. There's a fine line between validating feelings, listening with compassion, and correcting irrational and harmful beliefs that aren't grounded in reality. Sometimes there is a disconnect between reality and our perceived emotional reaction to it. But we trust our emotions, and so we choose to believe our perception of what happened. Feeling like something is true doesn't mean that it is. Feeling like the market will go up doesn't mean it will. Feeling like you aren't doing enough to learn trading doesn't mean it's true. Or maybe you feel lonely, so you assume nobody cares about you. Our feelings are strong. I mean, that's kind of what makes us human, right? I'm pretty sure my cat didn't feel guilty after catching that bird and biting its head off. But we can't be like cats, so it's important to reflect on how we feel and question whether our beliefs are grounded in reality or just in our own emotionally twisted reality. We must become cat-human hybrids. Hats. Nah. Cumin. Wait, no, that's a spice. Ah, so that's how they make it. Cats and humans. Ah! Wake up! Oh, sorry. When we prepare for disappointment by expecting it, it hurts less when it does happen. Having unrealistic expectations about the future is a way to deal with the pain, which reminds me of something called self-handicapping. This is when we avoid the things we need to do to be successful so we can blame failure on that instead of on ourselves. You're not a stupid person for making a stupid trade. Don't forget the situational factors. Trading is insanely intense. Your money is on the line, and becoming successful means a lot to you because it implies financial independence and complete freedom. Trading has a ton of pressure behind it because we want it so badly. And combining that with your hard-earned money being on the line is a recipe for dumb decisions. Remember that it doesn't mean that you are dumb, though. Stupid trade does not equal stupid person. I love you. Just kidding. I'm not kidding. I love you.
Is there evidence to support how you interpreted an event? Is there an alternative explanation that makes more sense, but maybe your emotions are clouding your judgment? Our behavior after a trade is crucial. If we mess up and then try to avoid the situation again, which we knew wasn't guaranteed to work, we will miss setups. We can't always be right. A system can only be proven to work if we try it multiple times. If we always skip around and try something different because of one loss, we will never become successful because there is nothing that works every time. Everybody sees the world through a different lens. My beliefs about myself, about others, and about the world are different from yours, and this causes us to interpret events differently. Part of helping people with something like depression is to challenge the core beliefs that we have about the world. These core beliefs define who we are, and they guide how we live our lives. If you are someone who thinks the world is against you, you may feel anger or resentment towards the markets after a loss. This core belief has to be addressed. CBT is not about changing all of your thoughts into happy ones. It's about questioning the validity of unrealistic or irrational beliefs. It's okay to not think that the world is a happy place, and it's okay to think that the stock market is unfair or brutal. It becomes not okay when your belief that the world is against you causes you to think that your trading success is not dependent on your own efforts. You are in control of your learning process, and you have to take responsibility for everything that you do. An internal locus of control describes a person who believes that their destiny is in their own hands. They believe that what happens in their life is up to them. The success of your trading career is up to you. Just because others around you have failed does not mean that you can't do it. There are a lot of negative people who are bitter about day trading because they could not succeed, and they think that it is impossible to do just because they couldn't do it. They project their own issues onto others. If everything in your life feels out of control, grab onto something that can't be taken away from you. Some people really do live chaotic lives and are born into horrible circumstances. But most people think that they aren't in control of what happens to them because it is the easy way out, it requires less effort, or it is a core belief that may stem from low self-esteem or some other factor. Either way, it is possible to change this part of who you are. It is not some physical part of your brain. It is an attitude and a perspective. Do you know anyone who is scared of planes but not cars, even though you are statistically more likely to die in a car? Sometimes we feel a certain way, so we believe it to be true, even though the facts completely disagree. Our brain can be very mean to us sometimes and make us feel low about something, even if people from an outside perspective would be completely confused by how obviously wrong it is. It is rare that while trading we should be having thoughts that include the words never and always, because that's rarely how the market works. For the most part, there is too much uncertainty to make definitive statements, and thinking in this way really limits our ability to soak in new information, to adapt, and to develop more effective perspectives. When we learn about these cognitive distortions, we can begin to recognize when our mind is playing tricks on us. When we do things like disqualifying the positive, we can recognize those thought processes and challenge them. We can think back at them with challenge questions like, is that really true? Or, is that fair? When we challenge our thoughts, we can begin to change our thinking, which, in turn, changes the way that we feel and the way that we behave. Okay, this is a screenshot of one of her slides. She claims that Fibonacci is a naturally predictive tool, whatever that means, and she lists these examples. There is zero physical significance for where that spiral starts. I actually looked it up. It's in Ouagadougou. It doesn't even stay on land. It goes into the ocean several times. It completely cuts through Somalia on the right, and we're supposed to believe that 011235813 has some sort of geographical power that shapes the world itself? Ignoring the parts of Africa that void our belief of Fibonacci having continental significance is the definition of confirmation bias. Fibonacci is not a naturally predictive tool. It's the most efficient way for some plants to grow so they can absorb the most sunlight. But there are more plants that don't do this. This image shows how the retracements were drawn from the pivot low up to the pivot high, and the market crash reversed exactly at the 227.2% Fibonacci level. That's certainly very interesting. Hopefully, the people who are trying to time catching this falling knife didn't get in at these 7 other levels. Did you notice that it similarly bounced right off of 127.2, 100, and 78.6? But it continued to fall after that. Fibonacci levels implied it bounced 3 times before it was correct.
Profitable traders, what was your aha moment? No single moment. You just grow over time to embody the knowledge and the skills, through practice, you develop on the journey. But these areas certainly define my trading now. 1. Risk management. I don't move stops, add to positions, size up too much, or jump out before a sensible risk-to-reward target. 2. Simplify things. Strip down those charts and strategies. 20 indicators isn't likely to give you an edge. Focus on identifying trending or ranging conditions. Have some plays ready for each and be patient. 3. Not listening to others. No signals, no need for hours a day scanning YouTube for those secret winning strats. Just my own analysis and execution based on what works for me. 4. Confidence. I know what will generally work and I know how to identify weaknesses should I need to tweak anything in my strats. I'm not afraid to pull the trigger, and I don't beat myself up if I F up. Just something to address and try to improve next time. 5. A focus on process. You've heard this before, I'm sure, but it really will make a meaningful difference if you make a conscious effort to follow your plan. Track everything as you're finding your feet, know where your weak areas are, and focus on them. Entries, holding trades, risk, market conditions, session times, etc., etc. 6. A diet of strong whiskey, cigarettes, and Red Bull. Your body is a temple.
What do you mean by price action only trading? What's the concept of that? Means you do not rely on indicators. When you capture the charts properly, you will never use indicators. It's like pro level. Why are you typing in caps? Ops, my cap is on. Video game characters. Trading is hard. It takes a lot of learning to become consistent, so think of yourself as a character. Each day, you gain experience and are leveling up certain skills. You might not be able to quantify the exact changes in your perceptions and comprehension of trading, and I know that can feel frustrating. It's tough to put so much time and effort into something without really seeing any results. A lot of this has to do with instant versus delayed gratification. Even though we know that this takes a long time, that doesn't mean it isn't discouraging at times. Each day we are slowly upgrading and building a stronger and stronger character, and we know that through our efforts and time, this character will eventually become strong enough to be successful. We have to appreciate the process of the journey without just focusing on the end goal of consistent profitability. Next, we get to video game specific mindsets. I don't know about you, but when my buddy and I are playing in a 2v2 tournament on Rocket League and it's getting intense, there are a lot of moments where our emotions get the better of us and we have to calm down.
Fake. Up.
Come on! We will say things like, reset, because we have to force ourselves to calm down again and to focus. This is very important, because if we are getting hyped about a goal in the grand finals, then we need to calm down before the game resumes so that we can continue playing well. This is no different than needing to reset after a trade. We can't take the emotions of a trade into the next one. If we won, then that excitement and that happiness will negatively affect our judgment. If we lost on the trade, then that feeling of revenge and wanting to size up will start to creep in. You and I know that we have to defeat that in order to be consistently profitable. So, it's important to reset after every trade. Luckily, this isn't Rocket League where the kickoff starts about 10 seconds after a goal. In trading, we can take as much time as we need to do this.
You are not you. Rather, you are the reaction to your consciousness and to biological impulses. Consciousness is not one-dimensional. Its complexity is incomprehensible, and I wonder if an organism is even capable of understanding how itself actually works. Think about how weird that is. We are actively trying to solve which parts of our brain are responsible for which parts of what we perceive as reality. Are you you, or are you reacting to the part of you who is listening to this? While watching a funny show, are you laughing? Are you responding to your laughter and smiles by feeling happy? Or are you the part of you that is aware that you are laughing? By the way, where do ideas come from? Seriously. For people with schizophrenia, some of them think that their own thoughts and ideas are being planted in their minds from an external force like aliens or the government. This is not that strange to think about. When an idea pops into your head, it almost always wasn't the result of brainstorming or from gradually progressive levels of thinking. You didn't build various complex conceptual foundations that advanced with each layer to ultimately arrive at a polished conclusion. They just show up. So it's not unreasonable to believe they are coming from somewhere other than our own minds. Sorry. Anyways.
That's it.